Hello, Margaret. Can you hear me?
Hi, Mike.
Can you hear me?
I can. You can hear me. That's good.
Wow. Modern technology. I have a new camera here and I had some problems the first time I tried it. So
Oh,
how goes it?
good. I'm munching a little bit.
No problem. I talked with Dick this morning. He's still in the rehab center. I guess he's going to be there for a little bit.
Whereabouts, Mike?
You know what? I don't think he told me. I think it's I don't know. You know, if he told me, I forgot already. But I guess he's doing okay. I mean, he's in feels a lot better with this round than he did the first few times he had some back surgery. But I guess he's having some little bit of problem with one of his legs is a little slow to recover. So, but
Boy,
seems better.
he's
spirit.
really had it, hasn't he? What an ordeal.
I know. Well, he went to a doctor that my wife and I ran away from, and you know, I feel bad for him because you know, you have to have confidence in your doctor, and that's what's most important. He did, but so I guess the last surgery didn't go well, so he finally got a different doctor this time.
Well, we always think it's going to be a slam dunk, right? But
Yep.
you know, my husband broke his ankle and had a quote unquote simple, you know, ankle surgery, and 2, you know, infections later and 10 months, you know, just the whole PICC line and, you know, recurring infection. I mean, it became, you know, like just way out of control, you know? So even the simplest things can go awry.
Yep. Well, I mean, and doctors are human too, and you know, even the
Sure.
best aren't. They're not 100%, but yeah, it's you just hope you don't have to go to a doctor, but we all do. So just do the best you can and hope for the best. Good evening, Shante.
Hi, Mike.
Thank you for joining us. We have Margaret on the phone or on the line so far. There's Margaret or Margie.
Hi.
Margie.
Margie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Shante. I've seen your name on social media for a long time. And I paid my dues in PTO for, I think, 12 years on the Ashford PTO. So
Bless you.
I feel like, you know, we're fellow warriors in the PTO fight. So
I'm sure Shante could share some stories. It's not easy.
Oh boy, do I have stories. No, it's not. I just got in from I joined a gym and I went to a spin class for the first time, and I walked in and I went, hey, I know some of you guys. Some of them were the old librarian at the school, and one of them was a neighbor, and the lady that was leading the class was like, oh, you're a PTO. I work at an elementary school. Yeah. It's like, yep. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, hopefully we're going to have some more members here this evening. I haven't heard it. No, somebody's not going to come other than Richard or Shante, our chairman. He had some surgery recently, so he unfortunately is not home yet. So he will not be joining us. I think one of the things we'll probably end up talking about is just our membership, because I know we have a couple of members that haven't been able to join us during the pandemic. They're not really, I don't think they really like to use Zoom or don't want to use Zoom or can't use Zoom. So I think that's one of the things we have to work on is what we can do for getting a quorum on a more consistent basis. Because we haven't heard, hopefully, I guess we're going to go back to some kind of in-person or hybrid sessions, but that is yet to be determined. I was hearing maybe next month as a possibility, but okay, so yeah. Hi, Jasmine.
Hello. Hi, Jazz. Sorry, I didn't get you called. But, while we're chatting about that, Dick called me because I had recruited Jasmine to maybe come to a couple of meetings and see if EDC was something that she might enjoy, with her being business minded and
Karen, I did
committed to Ashford and all of that. So, but Richard, had called me to say that with the Economic Development Commission, we have to have a balance of people from different parties. Vote, Democrat versus Republican versus independent, I guess. So we may have to make some adjustments with other members who are, perhaps Democrats who haven't been coming, to see if they want to step aside or what their interest is. But I hope that you'll come to some meetings and at least hear what we have to say until we can kind of sort out the official politics of, getting new members appointed. So please bear with us while we sort that out.
Right, thank you.
Sounds a lot like my PTO.
Now, this is much more official. You have to be Republican or you have to be a Democrat with town stuff. With PTO, you take anybody that breathes, right?
Well, yes. If I could get people's pets to come and volunteer their time, I would take it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the good news is that if somebody had asked me who's a Republican and Democrat on EDC, I would not have been able to say, because we don't. It's not.
I know.
Not an issue to us. I mean,
it's not evident.
Right. I think that's the thing I enjoy the most. So, is that we don't talk about politics. It doesn't enter into the conversation. We're all here to do the best we can for the good of Ashford and its citizens. So, but hopefully we'll give it a few more minutes. I'm again kind of disappointed we haven't got anybody else on, but we'll see how it goes.
So you said we might go back to in-person meetings or hybrid meetings, do you think?
Well, I think they were supposed to get some equipment in town hall. I think that's been in progress for a while now. It's something that I think Catherine started and Bill's been working on. And I think, because I think one thing people learn is at least sharing or having a Zoom capability, that type of capability allows greater access to those that may be homebound or just don't want to come to a meeting in the first place or get out or bad weather or whatever. But I think certainly there's been a lot of people feel more, we all want to get back to seeing people in person. So I think that what I heard last was that they were going to be shooting for April possibly to get some type of things back in form, but they wanted to have all that equipment in shape and training in place and all that jazz, so they could at least still offer a hybrid. Because I was told by my doctor today that today marks the 2nd anniversary of this pandemic, and so we're actually into our 3rd year of this, which is kind of insane to think about. But who knows where it still is headed, and hoping that things go away. But you never know. I think the world has changed in that front, unfortunately. So, well, this isn't looking too promising, is it?
No, it isn't. Can we chat informally for a bit without having a quorum, like turn off the recording and
let's make our time as productive as possible and for everybody here. Shante, would you like to at least introduce yourself to
Sure.
Jasmine, and tell them a little bit about yourself? And just for edification, we have engaged Shante to help us through continue on the fine work that Christina had started for us. And we've at least dedicated at least 10 hours of time in our budget for Shantae to begin. And she had some ideas, thought some great ideas and some things to kind of continue on with some of the, at least highlighting business and things. So why don't you go ahead and explain, talk about yourself, Shantae, what you've been involved in the community and your business. She's a young businesswoman here in Ashford, and some of your thoughts.
So I'm Shantae. I've got 2 kids at Ashford School. I am president of the PTO. I am a circulation desk attendant at our library. I'm kind of a Jill of all trades. My business is, I'm a baker. So if you see a bright teal SUV driving around town, that's me. There's usually cupcakes in there. So I've been doing that here for about 3 years. I moved here from Maryland 8 years ago, and I was baking back home. All that started when I was like 11. So I've been baking most of my life. I had mentioned to Mike that there are a lot of small home-based businesses in town that don't have storefronts. I don't have a storefront. I'm licensed and insured to bake from my home. My neighbors own Triple T landscaping, so no storefront for them. Cheryl Maldonado is probably, I call her the most famous of all of us. She's a soap maker. She actually now has her products in Big Wise here in Connecticut and just recently into Mass. And I have been asked by several people to join the Ashford Business Association. But honestly, I didn't really see what the benefit of it was. All anybody could tell me was that, oh, well, we're going to advertise, on the back of the Citizen. And that's just a word. It would just be my name. It doesn't say what I do or anything like that. And frankly, I don't ever look on the back of the Citizen. I just assume that it's always the same. So I just never, but the town has a spot online that you can, submit your business. So it's like a directory, but those of us that don't have a storefront can't be included because the way that their website is set up, you have to put in an address in order to submit it. Now, I don't want to put my personal address on the town website. I'm sure none of you would want to do that either. So I mentioned to Mike, it's a little disheartening because here I am. I've been, here running my business for 3 years. You guys have all seen me online. I do a ton of things in the community. I've held craft fairs here. I am usually leading the charge on something, and I feel pretty unsupported here. And then I was telling him I didn't even know that the EDC was a thing. I went, wait, what? We have one of those? Why didn't I know? So he said, well, maybe we can get the word out more about some of these other businesses, because honestly, most of us, those businesses are what carried us through the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I was a personal care aide, so I was in home health care, and my boss offered me a layoff. I had been with her the longest, and we kind of knew that schools were going to close, and I kept thinking, well, what do I do if my kids are at home doing school? At the time, the youngest was in preschool. And I certainly couldn't sit her in front of a computer and just leave her. So I would have to be home, and I couldn't take her to work with me because now I've got 2 kids at work trying to have them set up in 2 different places at my boss's house while I'm trying to take care of her. And it just there was just no way. And so when the time came, she said, listen, I wanted to offer it to you first because we all know where this is going right now. It looks like schools are going to close. So I took the layoff, and schools closed the very next week. So I was off of work for a year, but my business thrived through that year because I was out at farmers markets, and people wanted to be out but didn't want to go into grocery stores. So it was nice to be able to go and buy a loaf of bread and all of your produce and your eggs outside in the air and still see people. I think the worst part was like the isolation of it all. Was like, do people still exist? So I was actually in the website yesterday. I didn't know if you had a certain day you wanted things to post. The first of the month, the end of the month. I have Cheryl's, her business is called Unique Soaps. So I have her queued up to go first. She sent me a bunch of great pictures and some copy. So really, I just need to hit the publish button. I just didn't know if there was what the protocol is. Do I just publish it and send it to someone and say, hey, this is up, this is what it looks like, let me know if you want me to change anything real quick. And then I kind of started working on a few others. I stopped Triple T in the street coming home and I said, hey, you're gonna get a message from me. I need you to send me some stuff about your business. And he's like, oh, that's great. Because he said the same thing. He's having trouble getting business here in Ashford. He said most of his work and most of his jobs are in Willington and in Mansfield. And I'm like, well, we're here. I'd love to stay closer and build more clientele here because I'm, this is where I live. So I've got a few businesses lined up that'll, go live just whenever.
Good. Margaret?
Yeah, so a couple of things. I mean, we've been at this a long time, the EDC. I guess on the group right now, I've probably been the longest running person. And I'm sorry that you weren't aware that we had an EDC. And obviously the last couple of years have been particularly challenging because of COVID and us not being able to have a quorum. But we have really tried to do a number of things to help businesses, those that we can see and those we can't. I work with, my husband and I own Westford Hill Distillers, but until 2 years ago, you couldn't come and visit us either. Like we were producing a product and distributing it statewide, but nobody, we weren't set up to really be. So we have always represented, I think, EDC and understand the fact that we have a combination of storefronts and places that are retail, and then other people who are service providers, and then other people like you, or I think about Cranberry Hill Farm when they were going to Mystic to sell their farm goods, right? I mean, they were a business in Ashford, but they would go to the farmer's market in Mystic because they could make more money there. So we are a really eclectic group of businesses in Ashford, and it's been even a couple of years, I think, since we've had a comprehensive list as who has a registered business here. But by all means, we want to support all kinds of businesses and help figure out what can the town do, whether you have a storefront or you don't have a storefront, to make, to have a critical mass and to help you. What issues are you having with the town? What issues are you having with marketing? How can we collaborate? So one of the things that we spun out was the Ashford Business Association, because the EDC as an elected group couldn't do the things that an ABA could do for itself. So we put in an enormous amount of work into getting some momentum going and finding some business leaders that would take on the ABA. And I think that it has also had cycles, right? And again, very challenging during COVID because they haven't been able to meet. But I think, I guess I'm just asking, don't give up on that concept of joining for $60. I think what we need to do is reshape it and recognize that, the more other business people that and to be able to talk about common things is a positive thing. And, I feel like, so I'm just encouraging you to not dismiss that organization, because that's one of the things that we felt very strongly about. And over the years, we have tried as EDC, we organize the tradesman fair that we held every spring. Back in the recession, when the building trades were way in the dumps, we organized a fair so anybody that was in the construction trade could come and talk about their services as a way to support them for free of charge, to try to connect them with people in the area. So we've been around a long time and we've been doing different things based on what we think is needed. Creating a website was a major thing. How do we bring more businesses to Ashford? And so by you, taking on the website administration role and then other things that you might suggest, I think is great, because we want everybody to know that Ashford's a good place to have a business and that we have all kinds of businesses here. Jasmine is intimately involved with Henrietta House. You know, we have 2 places to stay in the entire town of Ashford, right? Henrietta House or the Ashford Motel. And, you know, and when people come to Ashford and stay at Henrietta House and have a positive experience, they're going to think positively about Ashford for lots of different reasons. So I guess, you know, I welcome your input, and I welcome any kinds of ideas, because Mike knows we've been in the trenches for a while, trying to do different initiatives. Bob Ignatowicz has been active with us trying to get a more robust presence on the CT visit site. So if somebody's visiting the area and are like, oh, I'm at the,
I have an account with CT Visit. When I host events, I post there too.
Yep, you know, it's a great deal, and they get a lot of hits,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. So we've been working to try to have a more robust presence on the CT Visits page of all kinds of things to do in Ashford and places to visit. And in your case, you know, where we can find your products. So, again, I apologize that you didn't know that we were here. We have done.
Oh, no, don't apologize. I mean,
well, I know, but I'm saying that we've done a lot of visitations through the years where we actually, each of us have like 6 accounts, and we've gone out and visited them and talked to them one-on-one, because we want businesses to know that they are supported here and what initiatives should we be taking on. So I love the idea that you're going to talk about some businesses that are hidden businesses.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to work with our assessor's office to sort of get a list of who are all the people who have registered businesses here, so that we can learn about them and talk about them. And the website is a great vehicle for doing that.
Yeah, and I know you had a question, Jasmine. I mean, Shante. One of the things that whatever you put together, maybe just to run it by myself, Margaret, and Mr. Williams, just so that you don't, you know, that it's kind of our certification to go out before it gets published. But we'd like to, you know, obviously take whatever you put together too, and then ultimately put that on our Town, Our Future Facebook page as another launch, and then maybe hopefully cross-pollinate that with the Ashford Community Board page too, because that, I think between the 2 of them, you know, we really can kind of cover a good chunk of the community. Not that everybody's on Facebook either, but I think that allows us to broaden the share opportunities and get more exposure for everybody as well. And I think your idea, I guess the question, you know, maybe for Shante and even Jasmine and Margaret here is, you know, I mean, how do we best get exposure for all these different, you know, hidden gems that are, as you said, Shante, really are the backbone. A lot of there are many businesses that have started in the you know, the kitchen or the garage of somebody's house, and before you know it, they're major. I mean, Apple Computers is a great example, one that's, you know, huge, and it started in somebody's garage. So that's something we've talked about years ago, about the incubator system and how we can grow some of these deals, help them, support them. So I think, you know, launch and get some exposure, maybe as a broader context, is how do we maybe begin to list and try to pull in those with, hey, you know, let us know and how we can help you and get exposure. And maybe, like you said, Margaret, maybe we need to go back like we did, you know, probably 10 years ago already, and get that list from the assessor's office of who she has as far as home businesses, and maybe get that list published again somehow, either on our web page, you know, and or on our Facebook page somehow. I mean, I think that's what we want to build some momentum here and exposure in a positive way.
And, you know, Shante brings up the, oh, Jasmine, go ahead.
That's
sorry,
good.
I just haven't said hi to Shante yet, so I just
wanted I'm sorry.
And I just wanted to say, so 2 businesses that I support that don't have, you know, brick and mortar that you can go up to really is High Hope Soap, which makes,
yep, I was gonna say High Hope. Yep, High Hope.
And Outbound Candle Company. She's a girl. She was originally from New Haven. She was out in Colorado for a couple of years, and she came back to Ashford. And she has 2 kids, and she's doing this little business, but you can't drive up there. And she makes these wonderful candles. So I sell both the candles and the soap at the bed and breakfast. And I would love to know more about your business to see how I could incorporate anything. I mean, it's amazing how many people want to throw little birthday parties, or they're going to go visit another family, and a lot of people ask about these treats and other, things. And so I'm positive there is a way that I could highlight your bakery or incorporate it. So I would love to chat more with you on that.
Well, next time I am out and about, I will stop by and drop off some business cards. So my oldest daughter, her father still lives in Maryland. And when we first moved here, when he would come up and visit, he just wasn't comfortable staying with, me and my fiance. And so I said, well, we've got a bed and breakfast, so why don't you go sit? So him and my daughter have actually stayed there. And then I came the next morning to pick her up, and Marian gave me the tour, and I got to go feed the goats, and she invited me for breakfast. And to this day, they both still say that those are the best waffles that they have ever had. So I don't know what you guys put in the waffles. Mine are not as good. Mom, yours are good, but they're really not like the lady at the B&B. So whatever you're putting in them, keep it up.
Release that information without Marion's approval.
No, don't leak it. Don't leak it.
But,
I have secret recipes too. Never.
But yeah, just so you know, because you said you were Triple T's neighbor, I just want to let you know that I'm across the street from you. I'm over on Cotswold.
Yeah, so you're right here. You're behind me, actually. Like Triple T is, if I walk down my driveway, there's one house, but if I just veer to the left a little bit, that's their house right there. And they put there was a lot of stuff happening, trucks and things moving the other day, and I'm sitting there going, what are they doing? But they had a brilliant marketing plan. So they've got a trailer that they haul all their stuff in. They move the trailer to the front instead of the back. So when you drive by, you see their big green Triple T with their logo. And they were actually moving trucks in and out as I was coming in, and he's motioning me to go around, and I pulled up next to him, and I was like, hey, this is who I am. We haven't officially met. And I was joking. I was saying, well, now that you've got your logo there, because it's, I think, his parents that live there. I was like, now you have to upkeep their lawn, because even if you let it go a little bit, he's like, yeah, it's the downside. So we always have to make sure that their lawn looks great. And I'm like, that's a nice gig for your parents. They get to be the show house.
Very nice.
So, you mentioned the website, and I have to tell you, when the town added that element to the website, it concerned us because we did not understand who was who was watching those. Are there businesses that shouldn't be on there that maybe have gone out of business? Like, who's the gatekeeper for that listing? It also directly kind of competed with a website. Before we had the Ashford Business Association, we created the campaign, the Plant Your Dollars Locally, Grow Ashford, Plant Your Dollars Locally. And the whole point of that was to drive people to a website that we created that had a listing of all the businesses with a link to their business page or Facebook page, whatever they had, and also a registry. So you could actually go on and say, I need seamstress work done, right? Or I need upholstery work done, or I need my car repaired. And if you plugged that in, all of the people in town that offered that service would pop up. So that was one of our early major initiatives out of EDC. And then when the ABA kind of came into organization, then we kind of dropped that. It became really more, because again, it was outside of an EDC responsibility, really. Right. It should be. So I agree with you. And I think this is something we need to look into, is the town website and the business listings there. And how can we make it, how can we have it help all businesses, even those that don't have an address that you can visit?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's a good point.
I'm not sure who runs their web stuff, but it would be, very easy. It would literally just be them going in and clicking a box off of making
Well,
that
you
a
have to
required
understand there's like
field.
3 people that work for the town, so they are so buried there. I mean, it seems like an easy thing, but I'm sure it's not high on their priority list. But we need to talk about it and how do we make, if it's going to be on the town website, it needs to be either good and useful, or we need to get rid of it. So I think
Right.
that's a really good point.
Good point. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So I think, you know, I think there's remains so much opportunity here, and I think I'm excited, at least, Shante, for you to maybe start getting into it a little bit relative to what we can do to expose some of these home-based businesses. And I think, like you said, Margaret, I think there's a great opportunity to kind of circle back to something we've talked about for years, and maybe once for all, kind of bump it up a notch here and get it really working the way we intended. I mean, I think there's so much talent, and I think, to Margaret's point about the ABA, the one thing that happens there is a physical networking where, to Jasmine's point, that there's a lot of businesses that cross-pollinate and they support each other by, you know, whether it's buying their product or supporting whatever they do, where we actually, they grow each other in a sense, you know, why shop outside of Ashford when you can get the same thing? Like, you know, many may have a function where they want to support it with some desserts, so why would they go anywhere else?
No, everyone needs desserts. Jeez.
Yeah. And my sugar levels are down, so now I can re-engage on that front. I'm happy about that.
Moderation. Just moderation.
Yeah. So I mean, I think so I think we get some great opportunity here moving ahead, you know, to bump this up a notch. So so I think, you know, Shante, if you want to forward to what you've put together so far and what your thoughts are on featuring some other companies. And I think the question, again, I would pose is, you know, how do we kind of get it out there and begin to develop a list of, you know, who is out there, and that idea of having a searchable database where you can find out who's here. And I mean, you know, I use Google a lot, and I'll tell you, when I Google something, it doesn't often bring me to somebody in Ashford. I'm certainly that the parameters for that search engine is a lot different than if you did something more local based with a database that the town or EDC manages or populates, you know. But I mean, I think that's, you know, I think the question becomes, you know, how do you maintain something like that, keep it current? Because things are always in dynamic change.
that is the difficult part, because a business closes and then they reopen, and the revolving door.
I mean, we had developed that list. Remember, Margaret, we got that list of like 150 businesses in town, and by the time we were reviewing it, things had already changed. So I mean, that's a question.
But that's, you know, that's the nature of business.
Right.
You know, the other thing that we have tried to work on is actively trying to promote our town as a good place to have businesses come to. So we actually went and made presentations to a pharmaceutical company. We have made multiple presentations to banks, trying to get the banks to come and at the very least put an ATM you know, somewhere in Ashford. We had businesses, you know, when Sneakers was still open and Robin would close at 1 o'clock in the morning and have all this cash that she needed to deposit somewhere, right? Like, there's a need for businesses to have access to banking. So we've gone and actively tried to bring banking interest to our intersection. So we've had several different initiatives based on what it is we're trying, you know, trying to do. And obviously attracting businesses here is one aspect, and then supporting the businesses that are here is another aspect. And you know, the growing businesses within your community, you know, statistically, it's much easier to grow a business than it is to lure a business in.
Yeah.
So that's why I think we have to have a couple of strategies that our commission works on. So, you know, we could think about a few things. We could think about our, you know, going back to the notion of an event, similar to the way we supported the construction trades. Maybe we need to do a hidden businesses event so that everybody that has a business that's not a storefront somehow can come and represent themselves, you know, as to what is they do. Or we build it into stores, farmers market, make sure that, that we have a business represented every week at the stores, excuse me, at the Ashford Farmers Market. So, there's lots of things we can do. We also are missing the opportunity with the citizens. So for years and years and years, it felt like I did a monthly page article about the Ashford EDC. We would talk about a business and we would welcome new businesses that have opened, and we would promote if there was a seminar or something going on, like it was a little page to promote Ashford business. So by virtue of the fact that whether people read it or not, the citizen goes into everybody's house in town and we can submit an article there for no charge, that would be another thing that I think would be really a worthwhile effort, that wouldn't take a whole lot of effort. And especially if you're putting an article every month about a business on the webpage, we can kind of
match it up
like
to the citizen.
Yeah, use the same article or an excerpt from it, right? And drive people to the website, or or then just flesh it out with other information, So I think we could kind of repurpose the effort you're making on the website and use it in a few places.
Great idea. Great idea. Well, I've got all of you on the, go ahead, Jasmine.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
just real
Jasmine.
quick on that note that you mentioned about the Ashland Farmers Market, I think that's really important for visitors, because every time I get a visitor on a weekend, I'm always sending them to another town. Like, it's very rare that we have an event that a guest can go to on the weekend here. It's always something big is happening in Putnam or Willimantic or here. And if we had these, I don't want to say fair, because that makes it sound so grand, like compared to Woodstock, but every time there is a really cool music venue over by the senior center, or if Ashford Farmers Market was just stepped up a little bit more to definitely highlight bakeries and candle companies and all of this that doesn't have a storefront, I think there's just a huge revenue there, especially from so many people visiting, and right on that road too. I'm just it being huge 44 and bigger flags and music. I mean, I don't think you could help but stop, really. So kind of more weekend, spring, summer events, I think would be really exciting.
Good. Well, I'll get everybody here. One of the things I was going to bring up is I've had contact more recently with the gentleman that owns the old sneakers building there. Everybody knows where that is, right? Where there's kind of Spectrum truck park.
The Spectrum parking lot.
Right. And he actually had 4 people that were potentially going to buy that building for a restaurant, but they all kind of had fallen through. So he did reach out to me, and we had a conversation about trying to see whether we can, with the EDC, whether we can, anything we can do to try to help bump that up again, relative, because he really still would like to get a restaurant in there. I mean, that's one of the things when we had our little surveys at those events we used to hold at Knowlton Hall. One of the things that always was at the top of it was restaurants or places to eat. We are limited. We have a couple here, and 3, I guess, if you count the Ashford Dairy Bar. But I think that's another thing that still remains an opportunity. And the old sneakers place was successful when it was there. So it's not that it couldn't support somebody, but so I know that.
Remember, Mike, we did a whole spreadsheet, and I should check to see if I still have it. Probably 6 months before the pandemic hit, we had a spreadsheet of all of the regional chain restaurants that we thought it might be worth talking to them. The Bears Smokehouse and the Wooden Tap, and some of these sort of smaller Connecticut restaurant franchises that have. Maybe we need to go back out with that again. We even created a sell sheet for that guy. Remember, we created a flyer for him, marketing to try to help him sell that space. So maybe we should revisit that and kind of give it another whirl. The restaurant trade has changed because of COVID. There may not be, they're all pulling their horns in a little bit, I think, to just stay alive still, but it wouldn't hurt to offer that up. I mean, this dumpling place that opened in Stores, right? It's the first Connecticut store, to open, and they found, Stores, Connecticut to do the automat dumpling thing. So there are still restaurant concepts out there looking for good sites, and it's a high traffic location.
Yeah, I know. I had reached out to the mill on the river. They indicated they might be willing to help somebody try to figure out what to put there. And then I had reached out to Bears, the smokehouse, but they never bid on it. Maybe it's a good place for a bakery to go. What do you think?
It's too big.
Too big, yeah.
It's way too big. So I know one of the restaurants that had looked into moving in there. It's the Caribbean restaurant. It's called All About the Flavor.
Yep.
I actually
I've
met
eaten
her
there.
at the
Yep, good food.
yeah, delicious. But I think that there are some not really structural, there's some plumbing issues with the property. I know something came up with the septic not quite being large enough for the capacity of, I don't know how true that was, but so that could be
Not true.
what's driving. No? Okay, well, that's good to know.
Well, just not to interrupt you, but just on that point, or if you get it, we actually have the local health district that come out and talk about that, and it's not true that site is good to go for a restaurant.
Oh, good. See, good. Yeah, so I wonder why she didn't take that spot, because she was really excited about it. It was local, it was right there. So I don't know what happened to make it fall
Yeah.
through.
It would need some capital to really get it back where it needs to be inside. So,
Has it been gutted inside? Like, is it empty? Does anyone know?
That's a word for it.
Okay.
yeah.
So I didn't know, like, if the, appliances were still in there, or would it be basically starting from scratch, a brand new build out?
I would say pretty much. I guess that there was a tenant that left in an angry manner and did some
okay.
damage as they left. So,
Yeah. You okay?
but that's good to know that, maybe we can work on that again in helping him.
Yeah.
Jasmine would like to see a restaurant go in there, wouldn't you, Jazz?
Yeah, but I mean, from what I remember, I mean, sneakers was definitely a specific clientele, and the last bar that was in there was a specific clientele, which is definitely the same kind of people who are the majority of Ashford. And the 2 times I went in there, I didn't find it very inviting. It was very local, very aggressive, like people were treating it like it was their living room. And I just, I thought about it as if I was a visitor. People were,
Oh, yeah.
just very loud, and the language was quite aggressive. Like, I can understand why, kids weren't there and families weren't there. It was all, it was majority very kind of loud, honestly loud men, at the end of their workday. And I didn't find it very inviting. So it would be nice that if a restaurant did go in there, it had a bit more family value, a bit more kind of like certain diversity to it, because the last couple of times I went in there, I didn't feel like I wanted to sit down and enjoy myself. Kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
totally. Yeah, no, I get that.
But also on that note of of Spectrum, even though there is technically a business there, it's right on the main road coming down from the highway, right? If you're getting off 74, you're entering Ashford, and it is honestly one of the first buildings you see. So I do understand that they don't want to advertise, no one come knocking on the door like, my internet's not working. Like, I guess they don't want that. But I think it would be nice if it wasn't just brown paper, like if it was some sort of mural or just paint flowers or something. It's an entry into Ashford, and the way it's kind of presented is a bit of a bummer. But I mean, I don't
know. I know that we've talked about this before, and I don't know whether we've actually ever approached them to ask them to do something to make it look like it is an inhabited building.
Yeah.
He's
because
willing to
it
do
was,
that. I mean, we talked about maybe having the Arts Council do something with mural, with paintings and things, but obviously, security and things like that you'd be concerned about. But the owner is willing to look at any of those things. He actually was willing to allow people to use it if they want to have some gatherings or whatever, to use it for actually free. Yeah, there's an opportunity that I think, to your point, Jasmine, to maybe to do something to give it a little more curb appeal of some sort.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think he's willing, if somebody has an idea, I mean, he's open to anything at this point. Just somebody come with an idea, and maybe we need to reapproach the Ashford Arts Council now that they're all really established, to see if there's anything that they would like to do with the building and on a basis. I don't know.
well, and the mural thing is not a bad idea, because this Rise Up Connecticut organizes mural projects all over the state. And they're looking for opportunities to come in with a mural artist and do some things. So if in combination with the Ashford Arts Council, we could turn it into an art piece and bring some attention to it. Similar to the way the Our Town, Our Future people organized painting of that gas station, and that little mural that is there, right, was because of the, it was a community volunteer base that said, that thing's ugly, what can we do to make it more fun? So,
Yeah, see, that was all before my time.
yeah, but great idea.
Yeah. Big pardon?
I'm sorry, Margie, what did you call it? I know you said the Arts Council, but who else does the mural?
So there's another group that Mike and I participate in called Our Town, Our Future.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And if you're not friends on Facebook, please join Our Town, Our Future. And it was started as another loose knit group to try to brainstorm what we envision our community to be like in 10 or 20 years.
Gotcha.
And we organized, Mike was instrumental, I was just a participant, but organized a bunch of just group meetings with all kinds of different people from the community, and brainstormed and came up with similar things. And as a result of that, Our Town, Our Future, it was input to the Plan of Conservation and Development, which we have to update every 10 years. Is it 10 years, Mike? 5 years? So it was intended to be input to the community for that. But what came out of it was this notion of, gosh, that's an ugly building. What can we do about it? Because it's the gateway to Ashford, and what can we do to make, so we worked, and all these artists volunteered their time to paint it into a 50s gas station. That was entirely an Our Town, Our Future initiative. The Ashford Arts Council was another group of people that said, it would be really great if we had art collaboration. Now, look how active they are. They've got like 25 members, and they're doing events and all kinds of stuff all over the place. So those are two examples of what came out of the Our Town, Our Future. And that is still an active group that Mike and I meet another time during the month, and you're totally invited to play. And it's not an appointment, and you don't have to be Democrat and Republican. It's much more of an ad hoc, loose knit group, and we're looking for young ideas. So,
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. No, we've tried to be kind of what we call stakeholder meetings and things where we kind of engage the community. It's been very successful in the sense that we've gotten a lot of projects and facilitated a lot of opportunities. The Arts Council was born right there out of a meeting at Knowlton Hall, and we've gotten some things done, some other projects with the state in the town, and we're looking. We had one where we basically got a lot of people throughout, a broad range of people in the community, from everywhere from the Salvation Army, the Hole in the Wall gang, to the post office, to the churches, some businesses, residents together. And there's actually been a lot of collaboration that's occurred as a result of that, some cross-pollination, some partnerships that have actually developed as a result of that. I think Shantae's been involved with one of them that kind of came out of it a little bit more, was with the Salvation Army. They've really opened up their doors to be more involved with the community And they've had a few events there over the wintertime, even the Winterfest and other
Yeah,
things.
Diane is amazing.
So they've really, before they really were kind of, they're on 74 and nobody really knew what was going
Yeah.
on. They've really,
I didn't know that they had as much to offer as they did. And I went and she
Right.
gave me a tour and I went, wow, I didn't know. I hear camp and I just thought it was, a place that you send the kids on the summer. I had no idea that, they've been used as like a wedding venue. And I'm like, that's a great pull for our town, because then that could lead into, I mean, they don't allow alcohol because it's a Christian base. I'm like, but that would, maybe we get a local restaurant to cater said, wedding or baby shower or whatever it is. And it would be, an opportunity to pull in other businesses to come and work with that one. So I'm all about that.
so that's what our Town of Future, really, we try to facilitate ideas, pull in ideas, get people to meet each other, know each other, develop some synergy. I think that happened at that last meeting we had, where even they were talking about different ways to pull all the people pulling together for food drives and things to support people in need in the community. Something just as simple as that. But I think, that's what we try to do. We've been a little stalled lately, unfortunately, but we're actually going to have our next meeting I think it's April 23rd. We're going to be, I think it's the third Tuesday of next month. The first selectman, Bill Folletti, is going to join us to talk about some ideas and things that he'd like to see happen as well. Because obviously one of the things that we're trying to do is to get younger people involved in the community. You guys have fresher ideas, have a different perspective on the way the world spins. And that's much appreciated, because it's really going to be your town, your world. It still is. I mean, you're going to be taking the keys, if you haven't already, to continue into the future. So we really appreciate that. I see we have Ray Fenn. Are you there, Ray? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Welcome. I don't know
Thank you.
if you met everybody, but Shantae, we've had her come on to replace Christina Davis to help us with update of the website and our Town Our Future Facebook page, and hopefully you'll also get helping us with the CT Visit site as well with Bob as time goes on. And then we have Jasmine from Henrietta House. She's thinking about joining the EDC.
Hope you do.
And do you remember the young lady up on the left-hand corner? She looked
Hello,
familiar.
Mr. Fenn.
Ah, yes, I do. I think I remember you. It's been a long
Yeah.
time.
So we've kind of been, we don't have a quorum, obviously. Richard is recovering from his latest surgery. But we were just kind of talking about general things. I think the highlight tonight is just kind of talking about some things we can do to highlight some of the home-based businesses and things we can do there. Talked a little bit about the old sneakers place that Mr. Mark Pence has had some opportunity with. I think he said 4 businesses that approached him about a restaurant. They all fell through actually due to financing, which is kind of can be scary, I guess. But sort of seeing out what we can do there and maybe kind of re-energize that point in town. What else?
Do we now own the wagon shed property?
Yes, we do. And I know that waiting for some things, but I know the first selectman is going to look to, lean on EDC to help with ideas to move forward on what we might see that as being a place for whatever, obviously I'll be in partnership with Willington because they own part of that property on their side of the fence. But I think that's something I'll be later this year kind of discussing more fully.
Will there be any connection with the plan for affordable housing and connection with that property?
Don't know yet. I mean, that's all in a state of flux. That's obviously a topic that planning and zoning is working on, as are many communities across the state, to try to bring themselves up to compliance in a real way.
Richard had sent out some stuff for a Brownfield grants that were coming up. Is there any connection in that going on as far as the town is concerned? applying for those?
The town did get a series of those. I don't know if you remember, Ray, but that's how the property kind of was finally cleaned up in the final reports and things, to the point where town's taken possession. But those were all basically brownfield grants through DEEP, Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, that brought those to fruition.
Does that put us out of contention for 2022 grants?
I don't think so. It's just that I think those have to have a purpose and a champion, and I haven't talked specifically with Bill Folletti on that, but I mean, certainly there remains opportunity in the future for those, for sure.
Well, I realize you have to have something to spend the money on, and this is our very early stage, but I was just curious whether, because I haven't been around for a while, so I was just kind of looking through stuff and maybe catching up a little bit.
No, I think as some of you may, just for to kind of recap, that the town through with DEEP had engaged both a couple consulting firms, one that was kind of providing some of the touchy-feely parts of the mitigation, repair, remediation plan. The other one was a consultant actually doing the work and setting up for the contractor. But what was offered by, I think, both those were to do some further next phase, which would be the marketing of the property. But I think as we found here in Ashford, especially with the experience we had with the Moore property, I don't know if all you know where the Moore property is, but that's right on 74. A couple doors down across the street from where the package store and the wooden spoon and all that is. What actually, I think it's important to engage the public, to get public opinion and public kind of buy-in on consensus of some sort as to what the community would support before the town moves forward. I think that's the way most communities find it works. Nobody went to the old not in my backyard approach or things. People kind of they're ruffled if they don't feel they're part of the process, part of the solution for those things. So I think that weighs heavy on the Board of Selectmen's mind, to kind of at least get some kind of public outreach to see what the community would be comfortable with before we move forward with any form of marketing or what have you. So I think that's kind of where our Town Our Future and EDC might come in, is to help any of that facilitation there.
There should
So
be
this property, Shante and Jasmine, is 200 plus acres, right, along 44, that has
300.
been, how much?
Wow.
300 plus.
300 plus acres.
Yeah.
And it had been tied up with some ownership that stopped paying taxes. And then there's charges that it was a polluted site. And so it was really tied up and was just languishing there, not being developed.
I know that owner.
Being accessed,
Or that former
we didn't have
owner.
access to it. But that has all been squared away, and the town now has taken ownership of our part. As Mike said, Willington owns a little
Part
bit.
of it's on Willington. Okay.
So this has been something that we've been looking at for 8 or 10 years, like how can we move that along? And finally, it's now property of the town of Ashford. So it's beholden upon us to work with the Board of Selectmen to decide what kind of development should we put there that would optimally benefit our community. So this is a big nut that we've been waiting for a long time.
Our Town Our Future, as well as EDC, probably should come up with at least 3 or 4 seed projects or uses to let the Board of Selectmen chew on something. And I agree with Mike that it has to be put to the public, because the last runaround we had with the Moore property was really quite absurd. I mean, it was a minority of people shot down an idea that came to fruition regardless, because that's where Dollar General came from. If we would have had Dollar General on that property, had there been some more people and citizens involved in a positive thought on that rather than not. So
The pitchforks that we got, yeah.
The pitchfork? Oh, I don't understand, Shante. What do you mean by
Oh,
that?
I know when Dollar General went in, so I admin several local Facebook pages. I admin the Community Connections and also our Buy Nothing. And I remember the anger when it got out that we were gonna get a Dollar General. And I just remember thinking, this is awesome. What is wrong with everyone? Bigger business means better taxes for all of us. You can just run down the street and get your bread and your milk and all of the things.
You
I think
should have
some
been there
people
at the
just have a
meeting,
hard time
Shante.
letting go of like, this is a small town, we don't need anything, but we kind of,
You should have been at the meeting, Shante. Then you would have really, you would really been upset.
Well, and it's challenging because I think a lot of people feel that, for example, that economic development could just go and tap on Trader Joe's shoulders and say, hey, bring your store to Ashford. And they'll say, oh, okay, we'll be right there, right? Like it's luring businesses and enticing businesses to come to your community is a big old dance. And Ashford isn't really much of a player because we don't have a lot of incentives to offer. So when Dollar General said, we want to come there, you know, the town was going to sell them property and then people said no. And then of course they bought the private property next door. But the point is that we can at least, I think, Ray's idea is good, that we need to think about 3 or 4 scenarios to kind of let the selectmen think about, and then in turn, potentially people to think about. I also suggest that we should be reaching out to Advance CT, which is the state organization that does partner with communities about development. And I think we need to get on their radar that this parcel is here. And so that as companies come to Connecticut saying they're looking for kinds of parcels, that we might get clued into that. I know they were very instrumental with the Four Corners, the work that was done at the Four Corners with, you know, creating that as a federal opportunity zone. It's actually the largest federally approved opportunity zone in the state of Connecticut. And what is that? 3 miles, 4 miles from this parcel?
yeah.
So there's opportunity, I think, with this parcel. And so there, we've got some work to do there, Ray, you're right.
I think we're a little under 3 miles from the Yukon operation there just past CVS. Another thing I was thinking on that partial, I wonder if there's any possibility some of the crew, whatever, could be OTOF, it could be economic development, or in conjunction with you know, the Board of Selectmen could walk that property to see just what's in there. I've had an opportunity years and years ago to walk the back end of that property. And I know that some of the people in conservation have walked that property. So, because some of it is just not useful. There's a lot of wetlands in the back end of it. The amount of available property for development should be something I think up front we should know about. Might be able to get some information even from the people who did the survey work for the remediation effort that we've already paid for. But I think we ought to know what the land looks like before we start making suggestions.
Yeah,
Even possibility of getting the town to put a dirt road or an access road into the middle of that so that people could get in and see what the potential is.
Yeah, I think there's, you know, I haven't personally seen it, but I believe that the reports all kind of lay out where the wetlands have all been delineated, and
Yep.
so I think that information is readily available with soil type and all that jazz, although the area's been quite disturbed, so there's not necessarily a lot of virgin soils out there per se, but you know, I think we can get that. It's a good point, well taken. So any other thoughts? Maybe if anybody has any other questions or thoughts, or I can recap it. So Shante, maybe you can get what you put together out to myself and Margaret, and so we'll work to get that published. And probably should give you administrative rights too to our future Facebook page, because that's where we try to cross-pollinate the a lot of the EDC stuff, and we've really, that's something that is an opportunity that's still out in the wanting to have more stuff published too. I think we'll circle back to the rest of the membership about maybe talking about getting some ideas together, Ray. Present to the first selectman on ideas they think for that property, and let's see if we can get the information for what's on the property to everybody too. I think one of the things, maybe Shante, for you to working with me, I'll get the latest list of home businesses from our assessor, and maybe that's something we can work off of and see whether that's something, even if we I don't know whether we can publish something like that until we've contacted people or not. They probably, I think business probably want to be, that at least would be an opportunity for us to contact them to see if
Contact
they
them, yeah.
highlighted, on our webpage and Facebook page and that. Like, I think Margaret, do you want to see what you talked about the advanced CT? What would be involved there, or you already know what's involved there? If you want to.
No, but I can find out.
Okay.
I can find out who maybe to talk to and what would be involved with doing that. And then
What does that mean,
Shante,
Margaret?
what's that,
Excuse me,
Ray?
Margaret, what does that mean, advanced CT? I'm lost.
It's a new name for the group that came in and talked to us before, Ray. They came in and made some presentations to us,
Sure.
but it's the development arm of the state of Connecticut. So I'll try to get some info and send it out to everybody.
Thank you.
And then Shante, on the stories, I think maybe it would be wise for us to kind of plan out 3 or 4 months ahead who you think you want to write about. So like who will be featured in April and who will be featured in May and who will be featured in June. And so that there might be some seasonally appropriate businesses that we want to be highlighting in the right season. And then that too, we can get ahead of it by getting it also in the Citizen. Because I think we've probably missed their deadline already for April. I think it's like the 19th or 20th.
Yeah, it's the
19th.
20th, because we're always rushing at the last minute at the library. Like, did we send it already? I think we did. Did you send it? I didn't send it. So we always play that game every month.
Yeah.
We know it's coming and we'll have it done, and nobody ever hits the send on the email.
But maybe you and I can target doing some cross-pollinating between what's on the website and maybe getting something in the May issue of the Citizen from EDC and begin to kind of get the ball rolling on that again.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
can I make a quick comment on the website?
Sure.
Just a quickie. I saw that there had been some work done on it. I don't know who did it or anything, but anyways, I saw some comments that I think in one of the minutes. And I went in and looked at it, and I was looking at open property for commercial use in Ashford. I ran across 2 entries in Ashford, and the rest was completely throughout the state. Are we aware of that? It is not selective, that it can cover any property in any town in this state, and it's on our website?
I'm not sure what are you talking about? I'm lost there.
Well, isn't there a portion of that website that talks about available commercial property?
I think there's maybe a link. Is that you're talking about the
Or a
link?
link?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah.
Well, if you go on to that, Ashford is poorly represented in any event. Now, either they don't have the information on various properties that are open, or they only have what has been entered. I don't know how it works, but I do know that I'm not interested in Ashford, or rather, I'm not interested, if I'm looking for Ashford property, I'm certainly not interested in Fairfield County.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. I know that's one of the things that Bob's and I think Margaret will be working on with the CT visit link as well. We're in the Mystic, Connecticut region country.
Yeah, well, that's different. I'm talking about years ago, we had a a deal where we had exclusive Ashford property. We paid a certain amount of money to advertise those. It was free to anybody that wanted to come on board, if you
Yeah, sure.
recall. Now that's all gone because we don't use any funds for that. But there is a
Oh, you're
link
right.
for Ashford.
So there is under resources, advanced CT,
Uh-huh.
and under there is available buildings and available commercial sites. So it is more than just Ashford. And I don't know if we have any way of controlling that because it's not our own proprietary. It's a link to advanced CT and all of the things that are available.
Yeah,
So
I
we
just
can
I just pulled it
choose
up.
to
Yeah,
take
it's
that
the
off.
Connecticut Site Finder.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
well, the only thing is, in years past, it was exclusively Ashford property. We paid for the privilege. We gave
Yep.
it away for free, if you recall.
Yep.
What we have on there now doesn't do Ashford all that much good, but it really has some excellent portrayals of other property in other towns throughout the state. I'm not sure it's a big advantage. If it's a site we want, maybe we could do something better than that as far as exclusive Ashford efforts instead of somebody else's.
Yeah,
I think it-
maybe
I think
that,
it turns us away, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, got it. Okay.
That's a comment. I don't know if anybody ever looked and followed all the pieces and parts through, but it doesn't do Ashford a heck of a lot of good.
Well, here's
Well,
the
I
thing,
guess
Ray.
yeah,
Good.
Pardon?
good point.
I was gonna say, your stars in the mail for looking at the website and doing a good job of reviewing it.
Do I
Good
get a
job, Ray.
smiley face?
Yeah, you get a smiley face. Any other thoughts? Jasmine, are you continuing to kind of hopefully be interested in joining this illustrious group? You don't have to give it any blood or anything like that.
No, I am fully seduced by all of your charm.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, boy, there you go. Good humor. Thank you. Appreciate that on a Wednesday night.
No, there's a lot of interesting things about Ashford, and just being the bed and breakfast, it is quite interesting, the variety of people that we get coming through here. So I would like to do everything that I can to make people who visit here really have a good time. I mean, I don't think that there's no reason that we couldn't have certain things that Willimantic and Putnam and all of these others, and also just all of the hiking in nature that Ashford provides. I mean, the Audubon societies, all of the river walks, I mean, tons of stuff that the Last Green Valley does. I mean, they have events every single day on their calendar that incorporate this area. And of course, I would love to hike in Walktober events more. I really think you could get tons and tons of people really down here for Walktober. And Walktober, like you said, Shantae, is even extra for those businesses that don't have a storefront, because you are going into their homes, people who make pottery and woodcrafts, like, you're being invited. That's a huge support of their income. And so, yes, I would like to do everything I can to make Ashford that much better. So.
Thank you. So any other thoughts, comments? I mean, certainly, just from the little conversation we've had here this evening, there certainly is a lot of opportunity out there. I mean, all great, positive stuff to work on. I mean, I think there's some high easies here, things that we can kind of check off, work on, and get done, and be in a better spot, you know, even a couple months down the road. So I'm pretty excited about that. Any other thoughts? Closing thoughts, Margaret or Ray or
No,
Shanta?
it's just great to have Shantae and Jasmine both here at the table. We really appreciate your time.
Well,
Yes.
I just had a question of how I could kind of stay up to date about this huge property. You know, I just want to hear what's kind of going on and ideas being brought up. So is there a upcoming meeting or something that I could listen to or anything like that? Or?
No, I think, you know, we are going to be meeting with the first selectman, like I said, next month on our town of future. I expect to talk with him in the next week or so myself. I know that it's on his mind. but obviously a lot of things still going on. But yeah, I think there'll be something to where really, to your point, we're going to try to engage people and let everybody know so that it's well known. It's just, you don't have to call to find out. It'll be published and made known in the, and all the venues and media that we have available to let people know that what thoughts are going on. So I think it's evolving. So just stay tuned. You're in one of the spots to find out first. We'll say that.
So you
Mike?
said that Our Town, Our Future is April 23rd. Is that a Zoom setup or is that?
Yes, that'll be a Zoom. Yes,
Oh, okay.
I'll send you a link.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure to
What?
share that out with you.
Mike, a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any possibility you can get some of the property details, maybe out of the Board of Selectmen on that wagon shed property and distribute it to people, just so maybe some pictures?
Yep.
Maybe some general layout of how, the shape of the project, property, like a plot plan, just something to pique somebody's, energy, if you will, to think of projects or applications, kind of putting it in proximity to Route 44 and its proximity to Yukon, all those good things that might generate some ideas. Right now, it's kind of a blank slate. But I think if a little not a lot, but just a little positive information, like I said, photos or layout of the land, where things are on the property, its relationship to some of the streets. Is there any possibility we could come up with something like that?
Yeah,
And just-
absolutely. I mean, I know there's stuff available. I've seen it. So I mean, I attended some of the meetings they had on it. So I know there's PowerPoint presentations and pictures, and there's a report. So we should be able to get all that. It's all public information at this point. So.
We don't need a lot of weight, but we need some, so let's call them tickle points.
Right, I understand what you're saying. Get the juices flowing and the ideas flowing and people's interest peaked as the possibilities that lie ahead.
Right.
Well, I'm interested because I know it's not Ashford, but there was a huge wetland area in Wyndham behind the Walmart that just got kind of sold and taken over for development. And so I think it would be very intriguing to me to know how much wetland is out there and really to kind of stay on top of that information.
Well, we have a wetlands member on the Zoom call this evening, right, Mr. Fenn? You're still serving on that commission?
Yeah, I'm hanging on vaguely.
So he knows all about the peep frogs and everything going on in Ashford. They're coming out this last week, right, Ray?
I've got some already coming out.
Yeah. They're noisy.
Well, if you're in Martha's Vineyard, go called Pinkeltinks, believe it or not.
Hmm.
They don't call them peepers like they do around here.
Okay.
Anyway,
Any other thoughts, anybody? I appreciate everybody coming on this evening, and I think we got a few things to work on, and I'll send a little summary out to everybody. I think everybody's got an idea, but Margaret and Shante can connect, and appreciate that, Margaret and Shante. And Jasmine, thank you for joining us. Ray, good to see you. Looking good. And thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Enjoy spring. It's actually here, allegedly. Take care.
Margaret at westfordhill.com.